Welcome to the Behind the Drapes podcast. I'm your host, Expo Rich. We're here recording at the SISO Leadership Summit here in Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm here with my honored guest, Sam Lippman of Lippman Connects. Thank you for being here today.
It's my pleasure.
Appreciate you coming out and having this conversation. I love to talk to people in our industry who have been doing it a while and that really know what goes on behind the drapes. And that's how I came up with the theme, because that's what we're all about, all that craziness that goes on behind the drapes.
Right.
So with that, I always like to hear the origin story, kind of that superhero origin story of like how you ended up in this crazy business that we're in. So how did you stumble upon
Well, I'll
this?
be happy to tell you the story, but I'm looking, where are the hot wings? Where are the you ever watch that show?
Yeah.
That's a funny show.
Yeah.
Well, very interesting. I left college without any saleable skills. I got a degree at University of California, Santa Barbara.
Okay.
Not of surfing, no. I got a degree in dramatic arts with an emphasis in directing. And I had no skills whatsoever. I had no creative vision. And it was a great degree because you learned about performance, you learned about discipline, you learned about technical rehearsals, you learned about everything. So I really enjoyed it. And when I got out, I realized I was too rational to be an artist, but I was too uninterested in just business to be a business person. So in my hometown of Atlantic City, there was a guy who had a company, a friend of the family, a neighbor. And that business, in the Atlantic City Convention Center, which was the first purpose-built convention center.
Really?
The very first one. It was built right after World War II, and to bring people in and fill sleeping rooms, just way ahead of its time.
Wow.
So he said, well, if you want to learn about the trade show business, the Knitting Arts Show is moving into the old Atlantic City Convention Center on a February morning at 6 a.m. thinking that there's no way I'm going to show up.
Right.
But I had nothing else. I had no other options. So I said, sure.
Yeah.
So I got there at 6 a.m. I was standing next to somebody who did not want me there. The account executive was not thrilled that I was going to be his shadow for 10 days.
Right.
And I saw this giant empty concrete floor with a bunch of squares taped down. And at 6 o'clock, the girls, as they were called in those days, the freight girls, these were very competent professional women, were behind a pegboard office, making coffee and getting the freight desk ready. At 6:30, the Teamsters showed up. There was 3 docks, so there were 3 forklifts.
Right.
And at 7 o'clock, the security guy came and unlocked the door, the freight doors. The freight doors went up. The Teamster started unloading crates, and I was hooked.
Yeah.
And I watched the floor being filled up. I watched the crates being opened up. I watched the carpenters building stuff. The night before, I watched the carpet being kicked down and the flowers being delivered and the models coming the next morning. And at 10 a.m., whoosh.
Yeah.
A business, a city was built.
Yeah.
And then 4 days later, 4 o'clock, the lights went to half, the carpet was rolled up, and in 2.5 days, it was all now a blank floor again, concrete floor.
Almost like symphony.
It is,
yeah.
A symphony. I've never heard it being described as such, but yes. Yeah. And I said, this is unbelievable. Yeah. So the guy didn't want me there, because in those days, there was no young professional training program. So he said, well, if you want to go to Chicago, thinking, of course, I wasn't. I said, sure, I'll go to Chicago. So I went to Chicago and I worked for a company called United Exposition Service Company, which was purchased many years ago by GES. Yeah. And I started out at the very bottom as a freight desk clerk, filing hard cards. I don't know if you ever saw a hard card.
Of course.
Okay. And by accident, because they didn't know what was happening, I was sent over to Navy Pier to do a city job.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I did this city job. It took a month, and it was the very first Chicago Fest.
Oh, wow.
Which was amazing.
Yeah.
And then they sent me to New York City. I did it in the old Coliseum. I did boat shows and did work in the Hilton and the Americana in New York
America's
City.
1 and 2 and the Rhinelander.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. God, yeah, the Rhinelander. Yes.
Yeah.
And I realized that general service contracting was not for me, at least not in those days, not the way it was being done. And I saw these guys called show organizers, and they would come in every 10 days, and they'd be treated like kings, and they seemed to know what they were doing and direct things, like the symphony orchestra.
Yeah.
What's it called? The
director.
conductor.
Yeah.
The conductor.
Yes.
The
conductor. Yeah.
I said, that looks really interesting. Instead of just doing
Right.
different ones, every 10
And then
days.
go to the next level and tell them what the.
Well, work on one all year long.
Yeah.
And build it and design it and get to know an industry. So I typed up 8 letters. And fortunately, one of those organizations said yes, and they hired me. It was the National Computer Conference.
Okay.
So I moved to Washington, D.C. It was my first association job. I started out as a director of operations for the National Computer Conference. We did 2 shows a year. And then after 5 years, I was fortunate enough to be hired by the Consumer Electronics Show.
Okay.
Worked there for 10 years.
Yeah.
And that's when we did 2 shows a year. There was a summer CES and a winter CES, which was difficult.
It's like you were always on.
Always on.
Yeah.
Then I went from there to Graph Expo and did 5 years of the graphic arts show company, and then started my own company. So I fell into this, and fortunately, here quite a few years later, I'm still walking and talking.
Yeah, and you experienced both sides of it.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that I don't think it's good for you guys. It's good for the general service contractor, but I think there's a little something missing of the organizers now that don't really know how a show is built. I really think that it's even to the best interest of the general service contractor to get the organizer to not just show up,
Right.
The afternoon before,
Right.
but to have some idea. And the other thing that blows my mind is there's more than a few organizers, and you know this better than I do, that when the show is over, they leave too.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you got 2.5. I mean, your customers are still there, moving out. You should not be home. But
yeah, we have some of them.
I'm old school that way.
Yeah, yeah. No, you're right though. And when you want to have that end-to-end experience for your customer, you want to receive them on the way in, and you want to be there while they leave. So, yeah, you're right. That is important. And and there are a few people in the industry that have done both sides, and it's night and day when you're working with them, because they're definitely like dialed into a lot more than.
I just think it's important for people to understand how things work. And instead of it being a stupid rule,
Right.
if you actually take the time to ask why,
You can see why so much that's built into that function. Yeah.
And if you don't have it, I think your analogy is perfect. If you don't have a conductor, I don't even know how many instruments in a symphony orchestra. 80? I mean,
Probably,
50?
yeah.
More than 40, less than 80. Who knows? But everybody can't do whatever they want whenever they want, because it'd be just a jangle of noise. But when you follow a script or score and somebody is keeping beat, it's beautiful.
Yeah, definitely. Yep. And you're right. Because like when you were talking about it, I'm getting my energy back from that, because me growing up in this industry, being a second generation, like I was literally, jumping out of the way of forklifts when I was a little kid. And, but being able to see that where, the doors roll up, the freight comes in, the
rush.
Everything. It is.
I was talking to somebody earlier just today, and, she was mentioning how it's hard for people to retire. And I said, well, they miss the juice.
Yeah.
I mean, the adrenaline of, are you going to make it? And thinking on your feet, and it's addictive.
It's funny because it's hard to explain to people that are not in the industry when I tell them, like, my favorite part of this job is opening morning. Like when all the things have come together, and, that 9 a.m., 10 a.m., doors are opening, people are allowed in, and it's like, we did it again, and especially when you have those tight, like crazy morning mayhems of like the last minute empties, last minute carpet, and it's like right down to that wire, and then
somebody comes to you the morning of with a piece of machinery that's like in the middle of the floor.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we'll just pick it up.
I need a crane for right here. Yeah. Or I want this banner hung right. An hour before shoot. Right. Yeah. But we talked about like the history of going through, and you had some different iterations of it, and I'm assuming there were lots of people throughout your career that were like some instrumental building you up and pulling you up and helping you to become that. Who are some of those mentors that really paved the way for you?
It's a really interesting question, and I was thinking about it in preparation, and I actually wrote a few down because I don't want to miss anything. And it's mentors, role models, and friends. Mm-hmm. I mean, supporters, all rolled into one. I'll start out with Don Vaughn, and really more of what I learned about how he did business. People would talk about how he was the most organized show organizer they ever worked with, had the pleasure of working with. And he had everything set up, every morning, every meeting there was an agenda, and he was prepared for it, and there was closure. Mm-hmm. And I just went, well, yeah, if you're going to run the offshore technology conference, you need to be, organized. And then we'll go from, a suit to Bobby Duffy, who was a union electrician on the 7 level of McCormick Place. Wow. And I learned from him, you got to ask the right questions. Yeah. He and I would get together. That's when I was with the Consumer Electronics Show, and there was a lot of challenges about electricians and union labor. And instead of just, BMW, you know what that stands for?
What's that?
Bitch, moan, and whine. Bitch, moan, and whine. Instead of complaining, I went down and said, why is this? Why is this? Yeah. Why is this? And for instance, I don't know if hopefully now it's just an electronic switch, I don't know, but back in the day, I said, why do you have to ask for 24-hour power like 2.5 hours in advance? Right. I got exhibitors that thought they would be finished, but they're not, but they got to keep it on until then, they're going to be working late. And he said, all right, come with me. I was much younger then. Yeah. We climbed up a gang walk, whatever, into the catwalks. Yeah. And he took me up and over and down, and there was a box. And this quadrant of the floor, a manual switch had to be done for that power to stay on for 24 hours. And it was a fire risk type thing. Right. I went, okay, now I understand. Now I know why it's that. So he taught me to always ask the right questions and to absolutely keep a sense of humor. Yeah. If you can't laugh in this business, get out. Yeah. Tom Mobley was the GM, both of McCormick Place and the DC Convention Center. And he really was the epitome of having patience. He knew what had to be changed, and he knew that it would take time. And he did a lot of great stuff in both of those buildings. Deborah Sexton, I knew her when she was the head of the Chicago Bureau, and then obviously at PCMA. And she really talked about, from her leadership, the importance of showing up. Not easy to travel. Sometimes you really just don't want to get on another plane. But she showed up for our industry, and she made an impact. And that was very, very important. Peter Nathan, again, when I was a young punk working for, a general service contractor, I remember Clapp and Poliak, when they came into town 2 or 3 times a year, their show office was like a Wall Street, lawyer's office. There was no craziness and, boxes, and they ran their office like they ran their office in New York City. Wow. And that gave me the image and the standard to try to run show offices, in a professional way. Yeah. Margaret Peterson, wonderful, smart person who, even at the top of her game, was always a lifelong learner, always looking for, what she could learn. Guy by the name of Francis Friedman, out of New York City, was very helpful to me when I was going through quite a bit of a challenge, and he just had an almost Eastern philosophy that when the right opportunity was there, doors would just open. And he was right. Gary Shapiro, he certainly doesn't need any introduction. His energy and his commitment have not diminished one iota. And he's been doing this for 30 plus years. So that's always amazing to me. Tony Kalenka, focus on what's important. And Vinny Polito. Vinny and I have been, back in the day when he was at Comdex and I was at CES, we were very friendly competitors. So there's my my list.
That is a good list, and I've been fortunate enough to either work with or around or be in the presence of a lot of these people, and you're very fortunate to be able to work hand in hand with these people in one capacity or another. So,
well,
for sure,
one of the advantages of doing this for as long as I've been doing it, you get to bump into some really good people.
Yeah, for sure. And the one thing, and you mentioned about being friendly competitors, that's something that you see. I feel you see in this industry more than anything about like people supporting each other, even as competition. And even on the general service contractor side, we might be competing for a piece of business, but once it's won, if you need something from me when you're in town, I give it to you,
Well, because at one point you're going to need a favor.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. You're going to be coming in after they're moving out and need a part of the floor open, right, for a bigger exhibitor.
And we all know, especially that at blended move-ins and things like that, we got to work together. And it is a really unique industry in that aspect where it's not cutthroat. It's, sure, you might be competing for maybe the same attendees or sponsorship dollars, but once, once it's established, you really support each other. So
you're absolutely right. One of the things I like to do when somebody comes into our industry, like from pharmaceutical or construction or whatever, and they come to one of our meetings, I ask them that question: what's different? What's better? What's worse about coming into in the exhibition, trade show, convention industry? Invariably, they say everyone's so open.
Yeah.
Everybody shares, success stories. And
they don't hold their cards tight. They
where I came from, you would never say anything like that for fear it would help your competitor.
Right.
So I said, rising tide rises all ships.
That is true. Yeah. That is true. And so what's next for Lippman Connects? Like what's the rest of this year into 26, something that's you're really excited about, an initiative?
Well, 2025 has been a very good year. So I'm finishing up my last couple of roundtables, and it's been a positive year. 2026 is very exciting for me because it's the 25th anniversary of ECEF.
Nice.
Which is hard to believe.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you. We started in 2002, and this will be our 25th anniversary, and we have some exciting things planned. I'm trying to figure out what to invest in and what to do that will really be beneficial for everyone and not just my own ego trip. So I have some smart people that I'm running that by. I'll be talking to some people right here about that because I want to, when I look at the photos that we have, and we part during the breaks, and we have a photo loop from 2002 all the way through now. It'll be
that's really cool.
2025. And whenever, when I have a second and I look up at this monitors or the screens and see, Gary Shapiro with hair and, different things over the years, 2015, 2007. It's like, in a way, it's kind of a history of a certain part of our business. So I want to see how, I can make this 25th anniversary a little bit more of a celebration, not of ECF, but of what we've all accomplished.
Wow, that's incredible. We actually, on that same note, we just celebrated our 30th anniversary this past April.
Congratulations.
And unfortunately, our 25th anniversary was April of 2020. So we said, we'll celebrate at our 30. So we just celebrated ours. So I know how that feels like to really, as you grow and as your organization has grown and the people that you brought in and the people that you're supporting and the families and everything, it feels really good.
Yes.
So,
So that's one thing. And the other thing that's fun for me and why I look forward to each one of them, we have 7 roundtables. Those are 30 people each, exhibit sales, attendee acquisition, and large shows. And the people that come to those things are so smart and so technologically savvy and so enthusiastic that I look forward to each one of them, because I might be the facilitator.
You're learning.
Oh,
that's great.
Oh, no. I mean, when things really start cooking, I say to my wife, we can go watch a movie. I mean, these people are just cooking with Crisco. So, I'm very fortunate. I get to look forward to those types of places to rejuvenate and learn.
Well, on that same note, how has SISO been instrumental, like coming to this event specifically, like between their 2 events a year? How has SISO been instrumental for you and throughout your career?
Well, SISO has been instrumental for me to get to know all of the independents. I mean, my career was 20 years in associations. So I knew a lot of the DC association folks, but I only knew by articles and names and, the independent folks. So I remember coming to my first SISO was an executive conference. It was in Chicago at McCormick Place. I could go back. I don't know what year it was exactly, but it's got to be at least 15 years ago.
Lou Schomer was the...
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I didn't know many people. I mean, I was a newbie in that world. And, you come twice a year, you continue to show up, and you meet people and you don't be a jerk. And then, now I'm a regular, and it's a wonderful, anytime, as you said, in person, anytime you gather like-minded people in the same space for a couple of days, if you don't learn something, you're dead.
Right.
I mean, it's impossible not to learn something. So SISO is very important in that it brings together people to, rejuvenate and move our industry forward.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you so much for doing this today. And, I've known you for some years now, and it's always, when I have somebody share with me, like I get to learn so much more of the things that we wouldn't normally talk about.
Right.
So thank you for
sharing. It was my pleasure. Thank you.